Just 1 second here. Okay. All right. This is episode 9 of NHL Aftermath with my good buddy Sam Jackson. This is for July the 29th, 2023. Sammy, how are you? Okay, I think I got it. I don't know what was going on there. I was pressing the wrong button or something.
I don't know, but it was like flashing everything through at once.
Yeah.
I'm doing all right. Still kind of recovering from being sick, 2 weeks ago, but we're getting there.
So did you have the? I don't even want to say the word anymore. Did you have it?
I didn't test for it, but all the symptoms lined up, and a bunch of other people from my company were sick, and it seemed to be that was what was going around. So
Okay. Okay. Well, hopefully you're feeling much better. You look better. You look like you have a little bit more energy.
I do definitely feel more energized. That is for sure. My throat still feels a little funny, and I can feel it in my lungs still a bit, but for the most part, I am a little more energetic and kind of a little more back to feeling like my normal self.
Oh, that's good. That's great to hear, Sammy. So we just got some news, breaking news. I think this happened today, Sammy, right? Or did it happen late last night? Oh,
Tarasenko?
yes.
It was a couple days ago.
Oh, was it a couple days ago? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been so focused on trying to get all the stuff ready for this week's channel that I actually missed out on.
Oh, good.
But yes, as for mentioned, Tarasenko is going to play in Canada. How about that? He's actually choosing a Canadian city to play in. What are your thoughts on that, Sammy? I mean, it's only a 1-year deal, $5 million, but boy, oh boy, you think what the Senators are starting to do, getting what's his name at the deadline there, Chikrin at the deadline,
Mm-hmm.
and now this, and then you got another year on Tkachuk. This team's starting to look pretty good.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some hopes in Ottawa. I mean, there was definitely hope last year, too, when you brought in guys like Claude Giroux and you bring in Alex DeBrincat. There's definitely some hopes for the team last year. Unfortunately, they weren't able to live up probably to those expectations. Well, they definitely didn't live up to those expectations. I think going for this year, I think now they got Tarasenko. Yeah, they got rid of DeBrincat, but now they got Tarasenko in here. Yeah, they also picked up Chikrin at the trade deadline. And now they also got Korpisalo in net, so I think that solidifies your goaltending. I think this team is poised to do something and should be a playoff team. If they don't make the playoffs, I would be extremely surprised. And you got to think that if they're looking like they're out of a playoff position halfway through the season, they aren't going to look like it. You got to think DJ Smith is gone as a coach. You got to think that coach is gone for sure.
Oh, yeah,
and maybe even Dorian, or maybe you wait till the end of the year and then you get rid of the GM. But I got to think you almost clean house if this team isn't looking like they're going to make the playoffs by that point.
I don't know about Dorian yet. I'm not convinced that he'd be gone, but definitely I would agree with you 100% that if they're not in the playoffs, DJ Smith is out the door. They're looking good though. There's Canada's second best team as far as oh no, actually no, that'd probably be Toronto. Edmonton's first best though, you know that. I'm a homer.
I was like, I don't know about
I gotta be a homer. What's that?
I was like, I don't know about Ottawa being second best, but they're
definitely, I think.
Toronto and Edmonton for sure 1 and 2. Third, it's a wash after that. Like you would think, it probably is Ottawa, but you got to think that hopefully Calgary plays up to how they're supposed to, and Vancouver plays to their levels.
No, I don't have any faith in those guys at all. I don't have faith in Montreal. I don't have faith in Winnipeg. I don't have faith in Vancouver. No, it's the 3 teams. Those are I'm telling you right now, Sammy, those 3 teams are our playoff teams. Edmonton, Toronto, Ottawa.
I guess we'll see.
Bank it, man. Bank it.
All right.
Let's go on to some unfortunate news as the Chicago Blackhawks Uh, owner Rocky Wirtz passed away at the age of 70 this week. Somewhat of a polarizing, controversial figure. Everything that happened with the whole Kyle Beach stuff. I'm just going to go through some of his things, and then you can give me a lowdown on what you felt about him. So, he was inherited the Blackhawks upon the death of his father, Bill Wirtz, in 2007, becoming the fifth principal owner in the franchise 81-year history. His known awards are three-time Stanley Cup champion with the Blackhawks. In 2014, he was the Wine and Spirits America Lifetime Achievement Award. And in 2010, Chicago Innovation Awards Visionary Award. However, on February 3rd, he retracted a statement that he said that really got a lot of attention following a town hall meeting and how the Chicago Blackhawks were going to proceed forward. Basically, the question was asked, and it wasn't even asked to him, but he quickly interrupted his son Danny and jumped in. But basically, it was like, what are the Chicago Blackhawks going to do to prevent this from happening again? And right away, he goes, I'm going to answer that question, not Danny. Rocky Wirtz, this is his quotes. So Rocky Wirtz said, I think the report speaks for itself. The people that were involved are no longer here. We are not looking back at 2010. We are looking forward, and we are not going to talk about 2010. Basically brushing off this reporter's question. This was my first introduction to Rocky Wirtz, was this town hall meeting, because it just gained so much viral steam, if you will. What is your take on him, man?
To be honest, that town hall, I don't think I really paid any attention to it when it happened. Just because, like, I knew what the subject was about, and I was just like, I was kind of also in the way of just like, let it die in 2010. Like, it's an unfortunate thing that happened, but let's move on. Rocky Wirtz, I didn't know about him until 3 days ago. To be honest, I didn't know who the Blackhawks owner was until 3 days ago when he died, or however many days ago it was. I had no idea anything about him. Obviously, being involved in in what happened in that controversy, definitely for sure puts a stain on probably him and his legacy. But overall opinion of him, I don't really have an opinion on him, to be honest.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I said, my first introduction to him was all that stuff that got in that town hall meeting, and then I did end up watching it, and I'm like, wow, you're not really helping the cause. It's like the impression. Now, this is my personal impression. I don't want anyone to think that I'm stating what other people are thinking. My personal impression is this is one rich guy that just wanted to sweep this under the rug and be done with it. Didn't want that negative attention. Didn't want that negative blemish on his business career. So that to me, that's my personal take of it. So anyway, we wish the Wirtz family well. Sounds like Danny's probably going to take over the ownership of the team, or they'll end up selling it, just like they did with Eugene Melnyk a couple years ago when he passed. So yeah. Moving on from that. There he is, Rocky Wirtz, 1952-2023. We move on from that to Patrice Bergeron retiring. That's another bit of sad news, however, not as sad as a passing of a person. But after 19 years with the same club, Patrice Bergeron steps away from the game. He was drafted 45th overall by the Boston Bruins in the 2003 NHL entry draft, where Marc-Andre Fleury went number 1 overall. Other notable names included Eric Stahl, Nathan Horton, Shea Weber, and Ryan Getzlaf. He played all 19 years with the Bruins, ending his career with 1,294 games, 427 goals, 613 assists for a total of 1,040 points. Winning the Stanley Cup in 2011, 2 Olympic gold medals, which was 2010, 2014, 6-time Selke Award winner, 2012, 2014, 2015, 2017, 2022, and most recently, 2023. He is a IIHF World Champion in 2004. Played in 3 All-Star games, 15, 16, and 22, just to name a few. I could go on and on with this guy's achievements and record. And I'm going to make a bold statement to you, Sammy. And this is my opinion, okay? This is a very bold statement. But I honestly think he is the modern-day Jean Beliveau.
Okay.
He's a classy dude. And he just comes across so humble. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And when I looked at old Jean Beliveau interviews, I instantly correlated both of them together. Is that a stretch for me to say that?
I mean, if you're talking respectability and just like that overall respect and with his peers and with the colleagues around the National Hockey League, I don't think so. I mean, he definitely was. He probably was the most respected player in the NHL, to be completely honest. Like, I saw a clip of him, I think from yesterday in a game against Buffalo from this year. Tage Thompson, his wife had, I believe recently, at the time, had a cancerous lump in her leg, and she had surgery to have it removed. And Bergeron at the first face-off of the game, they were off against each other, and he just skated forward and just put his hand on his shoulder and was just checking in on him, checking on his wife, and still be like, "How you doing? You know, everything all right? Whatever, blah blah blah." Just checking in on him. That's the kind of guy he was. The game was a whole other thing, but he was a person first, and he recognized the humanity of things. And he wasn't sitting there walking up to him and trying to chirp him for his life situations. He was just like, "Hey man, are you all right? You know, how's the wife doing? You know, how's your kid? Is everyone okay? He's somebody that I think any kid can look at in terms of hockey wise and be like, I would like to emulate him and be like him."
Yeah. For me, I just think he's a classy dude, and this is one of those weird little things that I picked up on. But his number was 37. He played his last NHL game at the age of 37. Okay, he actually retired at 38, but he played his last NHL game at the age of 37. Wayne Gretzky, number 99, retired in 1999. You see where I'm going with this? Just the weird number correlation that I see now.
Pattern.
What's that?
An odd pattern coincidence.
Yeah, but it's a neat one, and I honestly say that he is like the modern day. When I watched his retirement, I don't know if you watched it, but I watched his retirement interview a couple days ago. He just came across as the modern day Jean Beliveau, so that's why I thought I'd throw that at you. Let's go on to our next topic. Or are we done? Okay, no. So we're done our topics for today. I love doing these fun things with you, Sammy.
They are fun.
And yeah, they are fun. This time we're not going to do the snake thing because that kind of screwed us up last time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lead off with each one, and then I'm going to get your take on them, okay? As we are going to and we're going to do this not every week. Every few weeks I'll throw in one, but basically we're eventually going to cover a 40-year span from 1980 to 2020. Every maybe 3 or 4 episodes, I'm just going to randomly select one, and I'll tell you which year it is, and we're going to redraft the top 10 players of that draft and where we think they deserve, where their proper destination is for that. Without further ado, Sammy, let's start. Okay, so first of all, I'll list off how that draft went. So in that draft, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins went first overall, Gabriel Landeskog second overall, Jonathan Huberdeau third overall, Adam Larson was fourth, Ryan Strome was fifth, Mika Zibanejad was sixth, Mark Scheifele 7th. Sean Couturier was 8th. Dougie Hamilton was 9th. And Jonas Brodin was 10th overall. If I was to, and I was correcting this a few times, but if I was to redo this draft rating from 10, and we're going to go from 10 to first, I have Jordan Binnington in 10th. He was drafted 3rd overall, 88th by the St. Louis Blues. Despite negative interactions with former Hall of Fame goaltender Martin Brodeur and his controversial on-ice antics, there's no denying his .906 save percentage over the 5 years that he has played in the league. He broke ground in 2018-19, where he not only saved the St. Louis Blues season from qualifying for the postseason, but he got them to a Stanley Cup. And it happens to be their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. Who do you got in 10th, Sammy?
At 10th, originally going 15th overall, I have JT Miller.
Ooh.
So I think just JT Miller, he plays hard. Yeah, he's emotional. We've talked about this before. But he plays hard. He puts up the points. He feels the game. He sees the game well. He's just, I think overall, he is a very good player. People can rag on him for his contract and his emotions all they want, but you can't deny that he is a very good player. He's a very solid all-around player. He can fit on the wing. He can fit in the center spot. He plays on a power play, penalty kill. Like, he's a very versatile player, and I think just with his pedigree, the points he's put up, I think 10th is a fair spot and a fair place for him.
Okay. Well, I got to be honest, I don't have him in my top 10.
Well, I didn't even have Jordan Binnington on my map, so.
Okay. All right. So we're off to a good start. Okay. My 9th place overall, dropping one spot, is Sean Couturier. Drafted 8th overall by the Philadelphia Flyers. 12 years later, I still have him. Well, I wrote down slotted in 8th, but today I corrected him to 9th for one reason, and we'll get to that. But in 721 games, he has 180 goals, 280 assists for 460 points, averaging .63 points per game. The last 2 seasons, other than his rookie, were the only times he was a minus player. Who do you got for 9th, Sammy?
At 9th overall, I have dropping 2 spots. So originally going 7th overall is Mark Scheifele. Still think Scheifele also, again, very solid player. Doesn't drop very far in here, and I think other guys were better. But overall, still a very solid player. He can put up points, he can put the puck in the back of the net, he can set up good plays. He, at times, has been a little controversial with some of his on-ice habits, too, but overall, he's a very good player, and going 9th overall to Boston, I think Boston would have been thrilled to have him on their team.
Yeah. Okay. So in 8th, he was drafted 1st overall. I have Ryan Nugent-Hopkins in 8th. He still remains a key cog for the Oilers' pursuit to win the Stanley Cup. So why do I drop him off? It's not necessarily his fault. I just think the carousel of coaches that he during that time frame of when he was drafted and all the coaches, he was never really able to gain any footing because this season he has to do this system. This season he had to do this system. And so I think a lot of it was just by the situation he was put in. He's got 721 games, 180 goals, 280 assists for 460 points, averaging .63 points per game. The last 2 seasons, other than his rookie year... Oh, I'm reading Sean Couturier's. Sorry. He has actually 233 goals and 399 assists for 632 points. And he's got 801 games under him. But yeah, between that and the crappy management, I think that's the main cause of why he dropped so significantly from 1st overall to 8th. You?
Eighth overall, originally going ninth, so I have him going up one spot. I have Dougie Hamilton. Dougie Hamilton has proved that he can be a top pairing defenseman. He can prove that he can not only put the puck in the back of the net, but assist really well. He's put up the points. He has been, at times, he's been Norris Trophy level or Norris caliber defenseman. He's a very solid defenseman, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much more I need to say on him. I don't have any stats for you, but he's been a very good solid defenseman between his brief time in Boston, his brief time in Calgary, a much longer time in Carolina, and then now in New Jersey. He's just been all around. He's been very solid for any team that he's played on, and he's only gotten better too as time has gone on.
Well, I'll tell you the stats because I have him in seventh. He was drafted ninth overall by the Boston Bruins. I initially ranked him ninth. This is what I was telling you about, that there was that little jump, and that's why that one paragraph was a little confusing. I initially had him ranked ninth, but the fact that at this point in his career, he is ranked 12th in points from a defenseman. He is ranked 12th out of that whole draft year. I have to give him some accolades. So I gave him seventh overall. The things that kind of put him down is the fact that he's been on 4 teams: Boston, Calgary, Carolina, and New Jersey. So there must be some kind of reasoning behind that. You know, a 10-year span, why are teams getting rid of him if he's such a sought-after defenseman? And I know in Calgary there was a very controversial statement made by one of the, I guess, color commentators during a live broadcast that they thought they weren't live, but basically calling him a bum, or they got to get rid of him or something like that. I don't know if you remember that.
No recollection.
No, but someone called him down like he makes so many mistakes and blah blah blah. Whatever. He's proven with the points that, like I said, 12th overall, and this is a defenseman in that whole. Now this, let's be fair, this was not a top caliber draft year, but there still was some diamonds in the rough, and we're going to get into those diamonds in the rough a little bit later. Yeah, so I have him 12th overall. 445 points, averaging 0.59 points per game. That's pretty good for a defenseman. Who do you have in okay. So who do you have in seventh, Sammy?
You and I are seventh and eighth places. I think are just switched here because I have Nugent Hopkins at seventh.
Okay.
So yeah, again, dropping from first overall to seventh. Again, no knock against Nuge. No knock against him. I think he's still a fantastic center. Very solid third line center at kind of at this point in his career. He had his first 100+ point season this year. He's just a very, very solid overall player. He's not the best first overall pick ever, but over the last, I guess, kind of 13 years, really, since I've been watching hockey, he's probably top 5 or 6, I would think. He's on there pretty, he's a very solid player. He's a very key player for the Oilers. I just think, again, there's other players that were in that draft that are better. So he's dropped down.
Okay. In 6th, I have Mika Zibanejad, drafted 6th overall by the Ottawa Senators. Despite having a lower point total than RNH, his plus-minus was fairly decent in the last 2 seasons. In 767 games played, he has a 268 goals, 338 assists for 606 points, averaging 0.79 goals per game. Your 6th player.
My 6th overall pick is actually John Gibson. Originally drafted 39th overall by the Anaheim Ducks. I have John Gibson going 6th. And again, a lot of people think that he's overrated. Not a lot of people. There are some people that think he's overrated. I think that he is still vastly an underrated goaltender. When Anaheim was still a fairly good team, he was very solid for them and put up remarkable numbers with them. And even now that they're in a rebuild and they are a bad team, he still puts up really solid numbers on a very bad Anaheim team. Now you take John Gibson, you put him on Pittsburgh or in Carolina or even Boston or Toronto, wherever, you put him on like a good contending team, he probably is able to, his numbers would definitely be better for sure, but he'd be able to go farther in the playoffs. I think he'd be able to carry some of those teams further than probably would otherwise, like Pittsburgh. I think he'd be able to carry Pittsburgh pretty far. Boston, no knock against Allmark, but I think Gibson is a better goalie overall than Allmark. I think Allmark just had a very good year. And I think Gibson would be able to do probably would have been able to take Boston further. But who knows? We don't have that situation. But I think just overall, John Gibson's a very good goaltender. He's underrated, and I think that Ottawa here in this scenario taking him at 6 would be thrilled to have him.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be. You know what? That's another guy I don't have on my list at all. So
Yeah, fair enough.
So now we're in the top 5, Sammy?
You bet.
All right, so for me coming in, excuse me, number 5, he was drafted 3rd overall by the Florida Panthers. Last year, he dropped off exceptionally in Calgary, but there were many factors. He has played 750 games and has tallied 213 goals, 455 assists for 668 points, averaging .89 goals per game, and that would be Jonathan Huberdeau. Your number 4 or number 5 there, Sammy.
My number 5 is actually Sean Couturier.
Okay. You got him that high, eh?
I have him at 5 because in my opinion, again, I think he's actually very underrated player. Just from the times I've watched Philadelphia, yeah, he was a negative player this year, but who on Philadelphia wasn't a negative player? Like, they were bad this year, so I don't think there's any reason to knock him for being negative this year. But overall, he's a very solid kind of two-way player. Honestly, I think that he probably should be more Selke nominated as well, or have more attention towards the Selke, because he's very good two-way. I think he's also a very good gentlemanly kind of player. I just think he's very underrated. I think that he's way more solid than people give him credit for. I think 5th is a good place for him. I think the Islanders. I think also the way that Couturier plays in this situation, Islanders picking 5th. I think he would have fit in very well for the Islanders. That's also kind of how I've done this redraft. I've also looked at the teams and saw what players probably would fit their system now, and I think the Couturier would fit that Lou Lamoriello, maybe slower, not so little more defensive style game. I think Couturier would fit that fantastically.
Yeah, very well it could have been. And there's no, I mean, like, let's be honest, these guys are all, we're all pretty much there's a couple different players that are not on my list compared to yours, but overall it's pretty close. Now we're getting down to the top 4, and I think after this, I think our 1, 2, 3 are going to be probably right the same. I just got a gut feeling.
Probably pretty similar anyway.
Yeah. So I got Mark Scheifele in 4th here. He was drafted 7th overall by the Winnipeg Jets. Despite the last couple of seasons being lackluster, you can't deny the fact that he sits 4th overall in points in this draft class since 2011, with 723 games played, 272 goals, 373 assists for 645 points, averaging .89 points per game. This is one that kind of bounced back for me, and I think the reason why I kept him in 4th is because there is a lot of negativity going on in the Winnipeg dressing room, and a lot of fingers are pointing to him, and we're pointing to Wheeler and blah, blah, blah. But then I said, you know what? Let's go with the numbers. Let's go with the numbers and what he has done. And to me, yeah, he breaks the top 4. You?
My number 4 is Jonathan Huberdeau. So falling one spot from 3rd to 4th. Again, you talked about it. He had a down year this year, but the year before that he had 115 points a year before that. He's still a very solid player, and I think that he should have a bounce back this upcoming year in Calgary. Now they also have a new coach that's not so old and cantankerous under Ryan Huska. I think that he'll have a better time and a better season. Again, just overall, still a very, very solid player. Don't see no reason to drop him any more than one place.
Okay, fair enough. Now this one, I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth on this one. So I'm good with either second or third, but I got Gabriel Landeskog in third. He was drafted second overall. He captained the Avalanche to the 2022 Stanley Cup as they dethroned the two-time Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. He has played 738 games for a total of 248 goals, 323 assists, 571 points overall, averaging .77 points per game. And he is definitely a very viable leader because we saw what Colorado did last year in the playoffs without him. Your number 3 there, Sammy?
My number 3, I think, again, like you said, our top 3 is going to be pretty similar here. I have a feeling our 2 and 3 is switched, though, because at third overall, I have originally taken 104th by the Calgary Flames. I have Johnny Gaudreau in third. So,
yeah. Like I said, yeah, it could have very well have been that too, because that's who my second guy is, and I'll get into that. But yeah, give me your ramble on Johnny Gaudreau in third.
Yeah, like Gaudreau's pedigree speaks for himself. He's been very good. Last year he put up over 100. Well, I guess not last season. The year before he put up over 100 points. This year he was around a point per game, if I remember correctly. Didn't have a very great year in Columbus, but again, nobody did. He's a very solid overall player, all-around player. Everyone kind of ragged on him for his size because he is smaller. But he hasn't let that disadvantage him in any way. He's used that as a strength. He's built that up, and he's able to be a little slippery and get through guys pretty easily. Overall, very solid player. Definitely deserving of a top 3 spot for sure.
Definitely can. Like I said, Sammy, I was finalizing this list earlier this morning, and I'm like, okay, you got stuff to do. You got to get on with this, and so I finally just said, that's it. I'm going to go with this. So yes, I have him in second. He was drafted, as you said, 104th overall by the Flames. Just a diamond in the rough. Like, let's put it that way. A diamond in the rough. When you're drafting that high and you got that kind of caliber of a player, like, you count your blessings. 682 games played. He has tallied 231 goals, 452 assists for 683 points overall, averaging a point a game. Can't ask for more out of a player, especially one that's drawn that high. Like, he's been awesome. And, man, I feel bad for Calgary. that he just wanted out. Calgary's fundamental mistake was Sutter. I think that changed the dynamic of that whole team. Maybe these guys, maybe him, maybe Tkachuk would have stuck around. Who knows? So I think it's fair to say our number 1 is going to be Nikita Kucherov.
Nikita.
Nikita. I got Nikita. Oh, typo.
He's not a drill.
Thank you for clarifying that, Sammy. All right. Nikita Kucherov. Anyway, drafted 56 overall by the Tampa Bay Lightning. At this point, he has the most points in that draft class. In 644 games, he has tallied 276 goals, 453 assists for 729 points, averaging 1.1 per game, and helping the Tampa Bay Lightning to not 1, but 2 Stanley Cup Finals, or Stanley Cup Championships, and 3 Stanley Cup Finals.
4 Stanley Cup Finals.
Is it 4? Yeah, I thought there was one that was a little bit earlier.
Yeah, he was on them when they went in 2015 against Chicago.
Right. What a start! What a start!
But...
Like, can you imagine that, drafting 56? Basically, you got your number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Tampa knows how to draft, man.
They know how to draft and they know how to develop. I grabbed my Tampa hat just for fun there, but
I should have grabbed my Makita hat.
I got a bag of Makita drills in my closet I can pull out if you want. Yeah, Kucherov at first overall, I think, is an absolute no-brainer for anybody that looks at this draft class. I think what he's done for Tampa, he's been, Stamkos has been their leader, but I think overall Kucherov has been their best player over the last probably 6-7 years. He's definitely been their best player for sure. Like you still have a Hedman who's been the best defenseman in the NHL at parts, or if not still is. Well, no, Mikhail Makar is, but Hedman's up there. Andrei Vasilevsky still is probably the best goaltender in the NHL as well, especially come playoff time. Kucherov, though, offensively, alongside McDavid, I think has been one of the best offensive players in the league over the last X number of years, and one of the most entertaining players that I've watched in my lifetime.
On and off the ice, I might add.
On and off, yeah, on and off the ice, right? Like I've only watched hockey since like 2010, because I'm much younger than you, my esteemed colleague. But,
Hey.
but he's been one of the most entertaining players that I've watched in my lifetime. I think for you, I think the idea of having Kucherov on the Oilers for you is probably a salivating idea. But can you imagine planting Kucherov on the wing with McDavid, or having a first line of Draisaitl, McDavid, and Kucherov? Like that's horrifying to think about. That's horrifying to think about. And again, no knock to Nugent Hopkins on the Oilers because he's been great. He's been a great leader for them over the 12 years since this draft. But you put Kucherov on that Edmonton team, and good Lord,
Yeah, that would be crazy. Well, Sammy, I think we are about to wrap this one up. Sorry about the glitches at the beginning. I want to get the perfect episode so bad. But yeah,
nothing will ever be perfect. Well,
yeah, you know what? And when you're live, and that's it. That's just it, folks. But any of you guys that are witnessing this channel for the first time, we do have a comment section as we are doing live, and we would love to hear from you guys. Love you guys chiming in. We do this. We try to shoot for 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Saturday. That may or may not change, but we are going to try to use that as our fundamental start. And yeah, we would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Especially when we do these countdowns, we'd like to hear someone saying, like, just giving your personal insight onto what you think. Anyway, Sammy, why don't you send us off and we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, hey, thanks guys for watching. If you liked what you saw, click like, click comment, subscribe. We're just two buddies who enjoy talking about hockey. If you think we're crazy on our opinions, please let us know. We'd love to hear it. Love to hear what your opinions are and be able to compare back and forth and have a discussion like my buddies here said. So, we look forward to talking to you next time.
All right, guys. Have a good week.